Aaron trust in the Lord. He is their help and their shield. You who fear him, trust in the Lord. He is their help and their shield.
You know, during the spring of 2020, we did nearly everything within the confines of our apartment. We were limited because of local policies to a 100-meter radius from our space for quite a few weeks. And during that time, we couldn't have worshiped in a local church even if we had wanted to. No churches were open because they weren't permitted to be open. So we suddenly had to realize, how are we going to teach our boys how to worship right here in our own apartment? Where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there am I in the midst of them. How can we put this passage into practice? To give you an example, yesterday we rode our bikes, or actually you guys rode your bikes, I just walked. But you guys rode your bikes up on the mountain, on a dirt path, okay? If you scattered seed on that dirt path, what do you think would happen? We began to make use of resources from both of our churches, our church in Bethlehem and our church in Jerusalem. So we would worship partially in Arabic and partially in English. Sometimes we would take turns. One Sunday morning would be an Arabic service, one Sunday morning would be an English language service. And we got used to singing songs in both languages, to coming up with a worship structure and a worship setting that was comfortable right there in our living room space, and teaching our boys to be solemn in the presence of the Lord right here at home.
Come thou incarnate Word, gird on thy mighty sword, our prayer attend. Come and thy people bless, and give thy word success. Spirit of holiness, on us descend.
I remember the very first time we had a home worship service. This was back in March 2020. And the first live feed from our pastor in Bethlehem was actually a sideways feed. I'm not sure if he had set some setting incorrectly on his phone, but his face was actually sideways on the television. So we were sitting there on our couch, sort of tilting our heads a little bit, trying to follow what he was saying. Eventually, the worship services became quite a bit more sophisticated as they were streaming. Our church in Bethlehem had a live stream that was done right from the space of the physical church building in Bethlehem, and that included music and teaching and prayer. And our church in Jerusalem did a pre-recorded YouTube video, which included worship from one of the rotating worship teams, followed by all the traditional aspects of the worship service, and then ending up with a time of preaching, followed by prayer and additional worship.
Whoops.
Jesus, 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 there's just something about that name. Master, Savior, Jesus, like the fragrance after the rain. Jesus, 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 let all heaven and earth proclaim. Kings and kingdoms will all pass away, but there's something about that name.
We need to make it golden. I think we need to add green.
And during the time of the shutdowns, we just sort of adapted ourselves to a new way of coming together into the Lord's presence as a family.
We need sauce. Have you viewed? There's other things. You're not going to start eating the meat.
And I shall know your will. It is time for the Lord to act, for your law has been broken. That is why I love your commands more than finest gold. That is why I rule my life by your precepts. I hate false ways.
Stephen, when you read the 5th verse, it says, "Let my steps be guided by your promise." But he said, "Let me steps be guided by your promise." He was talking like a pirate. Let me steps be guided by your promise.
I didn't notice it.
Then I went back again.
But then he corrected himself and read it.